guys, it's Jasmine, and today we are venturing on to part 2 of why taurine is so important for your cat. Before we get started, please click that subscribe button below if you haven't already, because I do put out weekly cat videos, and this one is actually a 3-parter. There's just way too much information to cram into just a couple of videos, so there will be a part 3. So I'm sure you're still wondering exactly how much taurine does your cat need. Believe it or not, no actual clinical studies have been done specifically to find out the daily allowance of taurine for cats. That being said, there have been some shorter term or experimental studies done when it comes to taurine and cat health. In one of these studies, it showed that 500 milligrams of taurine showed no signs of deficiency in cats. In another study, which spanned 17 months, it observed that 250 milligrams was way too low because the cats still showed heart abnormalities. In the same study, cats that were given 375 milligrams of taurine per day showed normal electroretinography values, which has to do with their eye health. There was even a study done by a Dr. Francis Pottinger who compared the effect of raw food versus cooked food in feline health. So in this study, he took about 100 cats and fed half raw food and the other half cooked food. And guess what?
The raw meat-fed animals began to survive the adrenalectomy extremely well, and they continued on in a superior quality of health.
The raw food cats thrived while the cooked food cats struggled with all of the symptoms of taurine deficiency that we discussed in part 1 of this video. Interestingly enough, this experiment and study done by Dr. Pottinger was meant to show the effect of processed food in the Western diet and how it could contribute to human issues like bone structure abnormalities in the face. But luckily, and really by default, it just so happened to provide more proof of the benefit of raw food diet for cats, but also the importance of nutrients, specifically like taurine. And in a nutshell, it just goes to show that eating too much processed food, no matter what your species, is probably not the best idea for your health. So if you were to research online and try to find the exact amount that you should feed your cat in milligrams of taurine per day, you'll likely find numbers like 375 milligrams, which is likely based on the study that I told you about a little earlier, up to 500 milligrams daily. That said, the National Research Council, or NRC, does recommend 0.0099 kilograms per kilogram body weight for adult cats and 0.33 kilograms per kilogram weight of kittens. Unsurprisingly, kittens need a little bit more because they are growing and they're growing fast. And if you haven't watched part 1 of this video or any of my other videos about raw cat food and cat stuff in general, I'm going to put a little link up here in the eye icon to those videos so you can get caught up in everything I'm talking about. If you watched part 1 of this video, you might remember how I told you that cats can't synthesize taurine, and that's why it's so important for them to get it, plus they lose a lot when they poop. Well, listen to this. A 2002 study showed that rice bran, which was included in commercial cat food at between 5 and 20% at the time, causes an increased amount of bile acids in cats, which causes a greater loss of taurine in the feces. That means that even though the commercial cat food, wet or dry, has the recommended amount of taurine in it, your cat can still suffer from a deficiency. Because as the researchers of this study concluded, this study shows that feline diets containing these materials, meaning dietary rice bran, may need a higher content of taurine than in similar products without them. So I really hope as we piece everything together that it's really driving things home of what the ideal type of diet is for your cat. This is why it's so important for you to take responsibility for your pet's health just like you would your own. If you're already a little bit of a nutrition nerd, you might have heard that cooking will destroy certain nutrients in foods. So a good question to ask would be, can taurine get destroyed or depleted in food? And the answer is yes. Not only does cooking and the heating process destroy and deplete taurine that's in food, such as muscle meats, hearts, and even supplemental taurine, but freezing also depletes taurine from a food, and the longer a food is frozen, the more taurine it's going to lose. Not only that, but when you thaw your chicken hearts or your meat if it was frozen, or even the food after you've prepared it and put it in the freezer, a lot of liquid is lost in the thawing process, and there's a lot of taurine in that liquid. Taurine is a water-soluble vitamin, like vitamin C or B vitamins, and this means that taurine is carried freely throughout the body and its tissues, but isn't stored in the body. Because of this, it's very, very, very difficult to overdose on taurine, since any excess would be excreted via the kidneys through the urine. This is also why so much taurine is lost when a food is frozen and then thawed. Because what do people typically do after thawing out a food, or specifically a meat? They drain or strain it out, tossing that liquid away, and guess what? You're also tossing away a measurable amount of taurine. This is just one of the reasons why in my last how to make raw cat food video, where I show you how to make it without a grinder, you see me drain the liquid from the thawed out hearts into the food itself. And again, I'll put links to any videos or things I talk about either in the description below or in that eye icon up in the corner. So if you've already been doing your research on cat nutrition or raw cat food, or if you've watched any of my other videos, then you are already well aware that dry, kibble type cat food is the absolute worst you can feed your cat. Not only does it have no hydration or water or liquid at all, but it's also been cooked and processed. So regardless to the fact that it does have the minimum amount of taurine in it, it likely is still going to lead to a deficiency if that's all your cat eats, especially if it contains ingredients like dietary rice bran, which unfortunately most of them do, and we learned that that can do some significant damage. Now, if you want to learn additional tips and suggestions on the best ways to make sure that your cat gets sufficient taurine in his or her diet, and you want to know how much to give your cat, or why we still add supplemental taurine to our cat food even though it has hearts and organs and potentially dark meat, those are a few of the questions that we will answer in next week's video, which will be the final video in this Importance of Taurine trilogy, apparently. Please remember to click the thumbs up below if you found this video interesting or helpful, because that does help me know the content that you like to see. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to click that subscribe button, and I will see you next week. Bye!